Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the origin story of one of the world's greatest epics, the Mahabharata.
It's a huge question, right? We're going to trace how a series of seemingly separate vows and curses actually forged an unbreakable chain of consequences, making a catastrophic, world-altering war almost inevitable. Okay, let's get into it.
So, our story begins with King Shantanu of Hastinapura. Picture this, he's walking by the river Ganges, and he meets this mysterious, unbelievably beautiful woman.
He is so completely captivated, just head over heels in love, that when she says she'll marry him on this one condition, he agrees instantly. He makes this binding promise without even thinking, having absolutely no idea the tragic price he's about to pay.
This number, well, it represents something pretty horrifying. See, Ganga gives birth to 7 sons. And one by one, with each birth, she takes the newborn baby down to the river and drowns him in the very water she embodies, all while Shantanu is forced to watch in silent horror, completely bound by his oath. Finally, when their 8th son is born, Shantanu just can't take it anymore. His grief completely overwhelms his promise. He confronts her, he breaks his vow, and he demands to know why she's doing this. And the second he questions her, the deal is broken, forcing her to reveal the truth. And the truth is a bombshell. She reveals that she is the goddess Ganga, and their sons were actually celestial beings who had been cursed to be born as mortals. So her actions weren't cruel, they were an act of mercy, freeing their souls from the curse. But, and this is the key part, because Shantanu broke his vow, their 8th son, Devavrata, is now stuck. He has to live out a full mortal life. And with that, she leaves, taking the boy with her, promising to return him once he's educated, and leaving the king absolutely heartbroken, setting the stage for the next fateful event. So, years go by. A still grieving Shantanu falls in love again, this time with a beautiful fisher princess named Satyavati. But you guessed it, history is about to repeat itself. Her father has a condition. Now, Shantanu loves his son Devavrata, who has since returned, a great warrior and the rightful heir. He just cannot agree to this injustice, so he returns to the palace completely crushed. But Devavrata sees his father's suffering and decides to take matters into his own hands to make his father happy. He goes to Satyavati's father and makes this unbelievable sacrifice. First, he gives up his right to the throne. But her father pushes back, worried that Devavrata's children might one day challenge the claim. So Devavrata makes a second, even more shocking promise. He vows to remain a celibate his entire life. Think about that. No children to ever challenge the throne. It's for this incredible, this terrible sacrifice that he becomes known as Bhishma, he of the terrible vow, and the gods grant him the power to choose his own time of death. And just like that, Bhishma's loyalty, while incredibly noble, completely shatters the natural line of succession. This single act of devotion creates a wound, a power vacuum right at the heart of the kingdom that is going to fester for generations to come. And, this sacrifice just leads to more and more complications. Satyavati has 2 sons with Shantanu, but then tragedy strikes the royal family again. Both sons die young without leaving any heirs. The entire dynasty is right back on the brink of collapse. So with the kingdom leaderless and Bhishma bound by his vow, a desperate Satyavati turns to this ancient custom, basically a last-ditch effort called niyoga. She calls upon her other son, one she had before she ever met Shantanu, the great sage Vyasa, to father children with her dead son's widows. But desperate solutions often come with their own problems, and this was no exception. Vyasa's powerful, ascetic appearance absolutely terrified the widows. The first, Ambika, shut her eyes in fear, and so her son, Dhritarashtra, was born blind. The other widow, Ambalika, turned pale with fright, and her son, Pandu, was born pale and frail. So the kingdom now has heirs, but their very births are marked by fear and imperfection, planting the seeds of another conflict. Who is actually fit to rule? Well, because of his blindness, the elder brother Dhritarashtra is passed over, and Pandu becomes king. But that chain of curses we've been talking about, it's not done with this family yet, not by a long shot. Things get really wild from here. So Pandu is cursed by a sage, doomed to die if he's ever intimate with his wives. To carry on the family line, his wife Kunti uses a divine boon to summon various gods who father 5 sons, the Pandavas.
Meanwhile, back in the palace, Dhritarashtra's wife Gandhari, in a fit of jealous rage after a 2-year pregnancy, ends it prematurely. The sage Vyasa has to intervene again, miraculously saving the remains and growing them in 100 pots to become the 100 Kaurava sons. And just like that, the two rival factions are set. This rivalry becomes the absolute heart of the Mahabharata. On one side, you've got the Kauravas, the 100 sons of the blind king Dhritarashtra, led by the eldest Duryodhana. And on the other, the Pandavas, the 5 divinely fathered sons of the now-deceased King Pandu. So, after Pandu tragically dies, fulfilling that sage's curse, his 5 sons and their mother return to the palace. But their very presence just pours gasoline on the fire of jealousy already burning in their cousins, the Kauravas, and their ambitious leader, Duryodhana. And this rivalry escalates very quickly. First, the Kauravas literally try to murder the Pandavas. They trick them into staying in a palace made of highly flammable lock and plan to burn it down. The Pandavas escape, but the battle lines are drawn. Then, the Pandavas forge a powerful new alliance when they marry the princess Draupadi, which only enrages the Kauravas more. The tension gets so thick, the elders are forced to step in to avoid all-out war. They split the kingdom. The Kauravas get the prosperous capital, while the Pandavas are given a barren wasteland. So the stage is now set. A king's promise, a son's terrible vow, a cursed bloodline, and a generation of supernaturally born rivals have all led to this moment, a divided kingdom and 2 families on a collision course. With so much history and bad blood, was war now really a choice? Or, at this point, was it simply destiny? What happens next and how this fragile peace finally shatters? Well, that is a story for another day.